Hello everyone, my name is Sophie and welcome back to another video. Do you guys know the series Zodiac Academy? Do you guys know it? It's a very long series with 20 books, at least it feels like that. And I have only ever read the first one. But I can still speak on it because I did read it. I remember at the time thinking that it wasn't so good. Controversial. And it reminded me a lot of like millennial humor. Sorry. It doesn't always have to be a bad thing. It wasn't that book though. And then I read Blood of Hercules by Jasmine Maas or whoever that is. The humor in that book was very similar to the Zodiac Academy book, and I got a little bit of whiplash. And to my surprise, a lot of people started liking my review on the first book that I could obviously read out to you guys, but I don't remember it. Based on this book, if the author ends up being your lawyer, she does have a law degree, you're going to jail. That's what I wrote. A lot of people started liking it. I got some comments on it. I was very confused why people cared because that book came out in 2024. Yeah. And now it's 2026 already. Scary. Well, it's because the sequel came out, Bonds of Hercules, and it got me curious and I read it. I'm a simple person. I didn't expect it to be better. Maybe a little bit. The thing is, the first book was indie published, then picked up by trad publisher, and now the second book was trad published by Harper Voyager, which is probably under HarperCollins. Why do they always have like split-offs? I don't get that. I don't really care actually. As mentioned in the first review that I put on Goodreads, the author has a law degree. She's written other books like the Psycho... I really don't know anything. Psycho Shifters is what it's called, and those already came out in 2024. So she started putting out books in 2024. She has a degree in ancient Greco-Roman classic studies from Georgetown University and is a former lawyer who spends all her free time writing about strong women in magical worlds. She lives in Florida with her husband Evan. Why is she exposing him? Why is she doxing her husband? Feel free to let me know if you read these books or if you also feel that way with the Zodiac Academy books, if that they are similar in like the writing style and the humor that they use. But I think that's all on like the background information. Before I get into the review, I want to quickly give a shout out to today's lovely sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare has creative classes taught by world-class creatives like professional illustrators, renowned graphic designers, and successful entrepreneurs. It is the best place to learn a creative skill or pick up a new hobby. If you're looking to reconnect with your creativity and maybe avoiding brain rot, which I can absolutely attest to, Skillshare is where humans come to learn from other humans. I think it's so exciting that every time I talk about Skillshare, I get to present a different class to you guys, and I think that just truly shows that there is something for everyone on there. The class that I took is called Goal Getter Mini, Gain Clarity, Confidence, and Momentum in Your Creative Career by Bonnie Christine. Bonnie is an artist and also an entrepreneur herself. She has her own business. She talks about the struggles that she faced with starting her business as an artist. Even though it's more about entrepreneurship, what she talks about, I could absolutely apply it to the job that I have. And when I got the job, I started working with a lot of other creatives who had been working in that area for a lot longer than me. I noticed that I was constantly comparing the things that I was doing to them and not really feeling confident in what I was creating. Bonnie talks about how to deal with those emotions and how to stop comparing yourself to others and really refocusing on yourself and what you are creating. And she also said at the end that you should treat yourself every time you achieve a goal, and I absolutely agree with that. I love treating myself. I'm so happy that I have another offer for you guys. The first 500 people who click the link in my description or scan the QR code on screen will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Thank you so much to Skillshare again for sponsoring today's video. And now let's get on to the review. I do have to say that for me, when I read books like this, they kind of... Well, I've self-titled it. Maybe someone else has come up with it before. It reminds me of like SNL humor. That's so mean. Saturday Night Live is an American late night show. I don't know anything else about it. I only know they do skits on there with like popular people. I also like the fact that I called them popular and not famous. You know, keep them humble. And I've never once watched an SNL skit and found it funny. Though I do have to say, I don't mean that as like I'm better than you, maybe a little bit. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, humor is subjective. Like, it's not supposed to be an attack on anyone, but I've never found comedians very funny to begin with. Anyway, so that's maybe not Saturday Night's Live fault. Why did I just call it full legal name? SNL's fault? Maybe that's just me. Yeah. It's just a very American humor to me like a very certain type of American humor, and that's what this book reminded me of. I also want to add that this book was allegedly advertised as a reverse harem or like a white shoes romance, and it wasn't that. The thing is, if you don't remember what the first book was about, maybe we should start there. We have our main character called Alexis, who lives in Montana, and she was adopted, and they're in a post-apocalyptic world. The apocalypse is not specified. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was specified, but not in this book, so I don't remember. Maybe she talked about it in the first book. And I also want to give a disclaimer. You will hear me say I don't care and I don't know a lot, but that's just really like the feelings that I have towards this book. And it's not a book that you're supposed to know or care about, I think. It's just like a vibes book, right? I do think that maybe the author was taking herself a little bit seriously writing this, but it's more of like a haha read. Like, it's not that deep. Right? It's like, I don't think she would proclaim this is the best piece of literature ever written. At least I hope so, because it's not. Anyway, Alexis lives in Montana with her adopted parents who mistreat her and abuse her. She also has a pet snake that no one can see. That snake is always horny and wants to kill people. She has an adoptive brother who is nonverbal, and that is why she knows sign language, which is really convenient. For some reason, they have resurrected the Greek gods. I'm not sure. We're starting here, I'm not sure. So Alexis is Hercules. She's the long lost daughter of Persephone and Hades, which she learns at the end of the first book. And then we have the Olympians and the Chthonians, and those people protect the humans from Titans who are trying to destroy the world. That's what I mean. Like, it's just like, okay, yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. So in the first book, Alexis gets taken in after she has to take like a state exam. It turns out she's actually powerful and she has powers. So she has to go to the powerful people school where she learns how to use those powers, but she doesn't really learn how to use those powers. And she is stationed with Patroclus and Achilles, who are her mentors, and Achilles has a muzzle. It's really hot. And then there's also two men, Augustus and Charon, and those two really want to be with her, like, really badly. And then the plot of the first book is just her going to school and being bullied and trying to be powerful and everything. At the end of the first book, she finds out she's the long lost daughter of Hades and Persephone, but she also finds out that she's now married. Yeah. She gets forced into a marriage with Augustus and Charon. They trick her into this marriage because there's a law that all Chthonians have to marry someone by 26. Which, there's only 1 year left for me now, so I'm a little bit scared. The Chthonians are seen as evil. They have very, very strong power to fight the Titans, and the Olympians are like the good people who hate the Chthonians and try to humiliate them for whatever reason. They just, you need good and evil. Whether it's clear why, it doesn't matter. We just need good and evil. At the end of the first book, Alexis says they will pay for what they tricked me into, this marriage. I didn't want to be in this marriage. They're going to pay for it. But nobody pays for anything. So let's get into it. There's a content warning that reads, this book contains excessive violence, language, and a brief allusion to sexual violence. Please take care of yourself while reading. The thing is, I commend... Is that the right word? Condemn is the wrong word. Commend is the right word. I condemn No, I don't. I love them. I love content warnings. I think that they are a great addition, especially when you have books that deal with subjects like these. But they kind of lose their meaning when your entire book is a content warning. In every chapter, there's excessive language and violence, and there is not just a brief allusion to sexual violence, but like the continuous thread of it. Also, Alexis being traumatized by her adoptive parents, telling people to kill themselves, when that's something that, like, killing herself was something she has thought about multiple times. It's like, okay, it's a little weird. A lot of people that loved the first book didn't like the second book. And I saw that on Goodreads. I don't know how you could like the first book to begin with. It's crazy to admit that. And then going into this and being like, I didn't like this. I was like, okay. So now you see that it wasn't that good. You were blinded. You were blinded by something. Now that I'm scrolling through it, I of course have to remind you that the chthonic males, and if I'm pronouncing that wrong, that's too bad. They get stats at the beginning of the book. Augustus is also called the diplomat for no reason. 6'6". We have his weight, his birthday, a power ranking, and a net worth. The thing is, things like these are allowed to exist, right? They're fun. They can be fun to read. But not if I'm buying a book at the store and it's like traditionally published, and I have to read things like power ranking and net worth and how much he weighs at the beginning of the book. That's something I post on Wattpad when I was 12. And then Charon's ranking is only 70 out of 100 and he's only worth 4 billion, so that's a little bit embarrassing. We also get all of these characters' POVs. So we have Alexis' POV, obviously, and then the duo Achilles and Patroclus, and then the duo, the Crimson Duo is what they're called, Augustus and Charon, who are her husbands. So we have her hubbies and we have her lovers, who are not her lovers. She pranked everyone with that. For the writing in general, yeah, I have to make a statement, yeah. I felt like she was just sitting down once a day writing a chapter and then sitting down the next day and writing the next chapter and coming up with what should happen next on the spot. Do you know what I mean? Like when I published my Harry Styles fanfiction on Wattpad when I was 12, I wanted her to be sold to One Direction, and then at the end I wanted her and Harry to kiss. That is the 2 plot points that I knew. And everything else didn't really matter. Like how we got there, I didn't really why would I plan that? And that's how this book reads. Like she knows the beginning and she knows the end, maybe. And she just needs to get there somehow, but that's just gonna happen like organically to her, or that's how it reads. Like she didn't plan this out, in my opinion, in Minecraft. She also doesn't use commas a lot. What is it called in English again? The thing that ChatGPT doesn't, gets flagged in every essay now. M dash. Yeah, M dash. Instead of using commas, she uses M dashes, and there's so much that I do think she used maybe a little bit of, in my opinion, a little bit of ChatGPT. Maybe even premium. Maybe she upgraded now that she got published. She could invest those 20 euros a month. I'll read out a sentence on page 7. Hades dropped his hand, dark eyes lighting with fury, M dash, fog thickened around us and the world plunged into coldness, M dash, screams intensified. Hades dropped his hand, dark eyes lightning with fury, fog thickened around us and the world plunged into coldness, screams intensified. Okay. Okay, and it's not even good. You know what I mean? Like, use an M dash, I don't care, but goodly. Then, I don't know if this is maybe different in a printed version, but for me it reads, 6 chthonic assassins stood in front of it, location, Siberia. Every hair on my body stood on end. Huh? Why do I get the random location insert? Why are we in Siberia? I actually don't remember why they're in Siberia, but it turns out she has to go back to school. Now that she graduated from school, she has to go to college, basically, I would imagine. This happens right at the beginning of the book, 4% in, so I was very confused because I thought the way the last book ended was just that their marriage happened, and then she was like depressed after it, and now all of a sudden we're in Siberia and she has to go to school again. I was a little bit confused. Arguably, we'll just go with it for now, right? Okay, we're in Siberia, we're going to school, fine. After surviving the first school, she is now having to train more intensely so she can go fight titans. It does not appear to be super urgent and no one really knows where the titans are from. And the thing is, if you are just reading for the vibes, then you're gonna be like, oh, okay. But for me, I was questioning why does no one care that much? Your biggest threat are these titans killing humans, but these Olympians and Chthonics don't really care about humans. But do we not care to know where the titans come from and why they only like periodically spawn? Do they have a hideout that we can bomb? We don't know. And at one point when she fights the titans, they have wings, which is a new development. And then we get like one chapter of one of the men saying, oh, why do they have wings? Whatever, we have different problems. So we're not trying to figure out how they got the wings? What? Loaded armpit and thigh holsters stretched across their black t-shirts and cargo pants. Spartan helmets set atop their heads. What kind of fit is that? Of course, what a lot of people appreciated about the first book was the fact that Alexis is very witty, and so she has a lot of inner monologue going on where she will make comments in italics about the things happening around her. Everyone watched as my protector hacked. Finally, just when I was about to intervene, he regurgitated the half-eaten piece of bark and looked back at me with his tail wagging. And then in italics, God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers. Okay. Why would she use internet language from 2025 when she lives in like 2150. I don't know, like somewhere around that. Have they not come up with their new own slang? Why is she talking exactly like a 20-year-old now would? Okay, I'll wait. Her protector is a dog, and it turns out he's a Pegasus, of course, because this is Hercules. So everyone is super evil, but also super hot, is what I wrote down. She thinks that everyone is scary looking and so dangerous and so evil, but they do have abs. You know. She also keeps referring in her mental to Karen as Karen and Artemis as Arthritis. And it's just like, okay. I'm not easily entertained. I'm a Capricorn. I think she wants to destroy the patriarchy by joining it, is what I wrote down. And then also, it's her and her presumed bestie from the first book who join for this new training. And the first challenge is to survive in the forest while being hunted until the next day. Yeah. They arrive at this new school. Her and her bestie, it's some dude whose name I forgot, and they have to survive while being hunted by like all of the other hot men in the forest for one night. Lowering my head, I activated my powers, protector bond strumming in my chest. I shoved my consciousness into my hellhounds while maintaining a full-out sprint, my senses strengthened. Just use a comma. For the love of God, just put a fucking comma. Vanilla smoke filled my lungs. I inhaled that scent when I dragged my tongue across Alexis's delicate golden skin. 99 days, 12 hours, 30 minutes, and 10 seconds. Like, I'm not sorry. The thing is, with the romance, I would not titulate it as a romance necessarily. Her husbands are completely obsessed with her for no reason. Alexis is so unlikable and so cringe, to be honest. Like super awkward, and she just got on my fucking nerves. Maybe men really are just into dumb blondes, I have to be honest. She is blonde. She supposedly has curls. I remember talking about this in the first book where I saw fan art of her on Jasmine's, the author's Instagram, where it's like, you know, in the book she's like her luscious curls, her angel-like curls, and I was really imagining her with like a full head of curls, like tight curls. And then she has like a little wave in the fan art, she's like a little twist with her straightener, like a little twist at the end. The fuck? Anyway, the husbands are super obsessed with her, and they have the same conversations over and over again, which is something that a lot of romance and fantasy books suffer from nowadays, because there's nothing really happening in the plot. Like, there's a lot happening on page, but nothing really moving the plot forward in this book. So we just have the same conversations over and over again. How hot she is, how perfect she is, you're mine, you're ours, we want to ruin you, we want to take you. And it's just over and over and over again. Like, every 3 chapters we get the same conversation. With her lovers, Patroclus and Achilles, it's a little bit different, because at the beginning Patroclus is like super obsessed with her and wants her to join their, like, she wants to become a throuple with her. Achilles isn't really for it. He's a little bit apprehensive. He's like, okay, if my boyfriend wants it, then whatever, I don't really care. He really wants it. Like, Patroclus is like obsessed with her, and she refuses him multiple times. I can't even put into words how ridiculous these storylines were and how they were written, I'm sorry. Anyway, she refuses their advances, and then after that happens, because Patroclus is also like, oh, we found out a way to break you out of your marriage bond. That's something that comes later. After that fails, that grand plan of his fails, and she's like, no, I don't want to be with you. He gets super sour about it and keeps, like, I don't know, insulting her throughout the entire book. And so I also thought that it was a reverse harem book, so I was waiting for him, or both of them, Achilles and Patroclus, to redeem themselves and like something to happen. But nothing happened. You'll see at the end. Augustus glared back at the approaching Chthonics, murder in his gaze, blood dripping from his eyes like tears, it was a new development. Blood dripped from his eyes like tears, it was a new development. The way this is written is just like, did no one look at this? The sentence is ass. Alexis looked back over her right shoulder, eyes widening with fear, one dark, one wide, locked on me. Okay, I think you get the point. I'll leave the M-dashes now. You'll get it, okay? Something that happens in Alexis's POV is also that instead of the italics where she inserts her comments and thoughts, it will be brackets. So there's a sentence where it's like, I wasn't this, and then in brackets I was, or it wasn't this, in brackets it was, you know what I mean? It's just like, okay, we get it. I think she did try to differentiate between the different POVs. 5 POVs for a book is just too much. Peace and love, like any book. Like maybe Game of Thrones not. I haven't read it, I don't know. Is 5 POVs even too much for that? Someone let me know. I think it's too much, and especially if you're not a skilled writer, like, sorry. I want to be less mean on this new year. But I do think she tried to give all of them a little bit of a different voice. Okay, so the italics, for example, were maybe used once or twice in a different POV, but they were primarily used for Alexis's. However, we have I don't know whose POV this is actually. Maybe Charon, maybe Augustus, definitely a man. I pulled off my helmet and dropped it to show her I wasn't a threat, in brackets I was. So she does sometimes use the same thing in other POVs, and then I get confused whose POV I am in. I do not care about stopping reading at the end of a chapter. I will stop whenever I want to stop, okay? Nobody can tell me what to do. And so when you're reading a book like this and you come back to it and I left off, okay? You're me right now. You leave off somewhere in the middle of the chapter and you come back and the voices aren't differentiated enough. I didn't know whose POV I was in, but it doesn't really matter. Doesn't really matter. They're all kind of the same. They all have the same thoughts. You know, very surface level. She rolled her eyes and waved her hand dismissively. The 10-carat diamond we gifted her danced on her finger. Don't attack your wife. Don't attack your wife. I didn't realize that was the next line. I held out my hand for her patiently. Just come with me. Don't kidnap her. I also love books that whenever people yell, instead of using an exclamation mark, authors will just write in all caps. Your powers are stronger now too, I shouted, losing all control. Okay, don't yell. All caps? That immediately, like, if I see all caps in a book for someone yelling, that takes off a star from me immediately. There were no stars left at the end of this book. Sorry. I know it's a surprise to everyone. I never asked you to be anything! Exclamation mark, all caps. Double scream. Humans called Catholics dark gods for a reason. This was the reason. Okay. Face flaming with heat, I struggled to breathe. Apparently, I wasn't asexual. I was just into tattooed, violent, Machiavellian man. Afraid worse than death. It's kind of a thing that she thought for a little while that she was asexual and hot men come along and then she's not asexual anymore, which is of course a great plot device to undermine asexuals. What the fuck? I have no idea what this sentence is supposed to mean. Feel free to explain it to me in the comments. Girding my lady loins. Let me look that up. I really don't know what it's supposed to mean. I'm sorry. Even the translation doesn't make any sense. Girding my lady loins is a sentence I don't think I ever want to read again. Maybe censor it in the comments. No woman should ever be so heavily bandaged, and certainly not my woman. Fuck all women, right? Like, women shouldn't be bandaged, but my woman, she's different. She should always be guarded, coddled, pampered. Your wife is injured under your fucking watch. You're Corona's damned disgrace of a man. It's not that deep, it really isn't. I think it happens when they chase her in the forest that she gets injured and then she leaps, which is their way of teleporting, and that takes a lot of energy, but it doesn't really matter. So what is the plot of this book? We have two things going on. The first one that's underlying is the fact that Medusa, she exists. She got out of prison. She was in Azkaban. She's being hunted. Yeah. The Olympians are the good ones, but not really, right? And they think that the chthonics have something to do with it. Every year, from my understanding, there is a celebration, which name I don't know, where they have to display their powers. And that's more for like the chthonics to display their powers, but the Olympians are the ones arranging it. And so they want to make them suffer to the max in these challenges where they have to fight in the Colosseum. So they have to do it every year from my understanding, right? And who cares? I said it. Because Medusa escaped Azkaban, they are now deciding to host this event earlier because they want to have all the chthonics in one place, because this challenge is like ongoing for 2 weeks or something, so everybody can fight a different day and they all have to stay in one place during this time. So the Olympians are like, oh, you have something to do with Medusa's escape, we're gonna do the event now so you're all in one place and we can watch you and see if you have something to do with her escape. Medusa wasn't born with chthonic powers. She's a Gorgon born with power of fate. That's why everyone fears Medusa? He asked with disbelief. Pedro's face was contorted with disgust. She's a fucking monster. Snake scum with the power of fate. She shouldn't exist. I don't really know why that's like why they have an issue with it, but okay. They all have animal protectors, as we have talked about previously maybe. I think Augustus's is a raccoon. His name is Poco, whatever. They are very much like animal protectors in a Disney movie, where they're like conscious. 3 seconds later, he popped up and screamed, gray fur sticking out in all directions as he aimed 2 finger guns back. And this is the raccoon. The raccoon is doing finger guns. Why is the raccoon conscious? I'm scared. There's more incidents like this, but I thought the finger guns were what stuck with me the most. Come and get me, Karen taunted. He made a V with his fingers and held it up to his lips. He wiggled his tongue suggestively. Silver glinted in the head of his thick peener. I want to censor myself a little bit. He has a pierced wiener. Augustus has one. Yeah. I think they have to shower together because they don't have any showers for women. So they're like, we're just gonna shower together. And they're like, oh my god, you're so prude. Like, we all just get naked together. We don't care. And she's like, no, I don't want to get naked right now. They also free a mysterious woman who allegedly conspired against Alexis in the first book. I don't remember this part. That woman has now lost all her memory, and Petro and Achilles want to kill her. They're like, why did you free her? She was chained up because she tried to kill you. And Alexis is like, no guys, like, she's fine. She lost her memory. She's good. And everyone's confused why the woman that literally tried to kill her is now allowed to live with her and why she's so gracious. His voice, velvet wrapped in steel. Not his peener, but his voice. But we did need that line at some point in the book. Raised my fist to the wall and swung. M dash. Achilles caught my wrist. I imagine it's like that meme on TikTok where people are like going to punch and then they have a cut and someone appears and holds their fist. That's what I imagine that scene to be like. This is between Achilles and Patroclus. We have a scene where they're like talking to one another, where Petro is like, I want Alexis so bad, like, let's have her join. And then Augustus is like, Achilles, why they all have so similar names, I'm sorry if I get them confused. Achilles is like, sure, like, if you want that, then I'm down. And then they do it in the shower with no lube. I think Achilles is the one with the tattoos on his wiener. Hands fisting his tattooed wiener stood erect against his chiseled abs. It's very big. Saw stars as he hit my prostate. This is the only scene where they do it, I think. Where we get their POVs where they do it. They end up training Alexis and her best friend in an underground bunker. The way it's written is very comical to me and like very abstract. I think this entire world is very abstract and very surface level. So it really did remind me of the ideas that I had when I was 12. And I mean that with peace and love, because I had some great ideas when I was 12. But if I had actually followed through and written them, they would have read like this. Once you have your titan cuffed, put this tag through their lower lip the way it's easily identifiable who captured them. Who cares? Who gives a fuck? How many titans are there that we need to tag them? I don't know. Then she's talking to Patroclus and Achilles. They say, if you bring your husbands to the brink of death, it will break your oath, which is the marriage oath, and then she will be free of them. And Alexis is like, I don't know if I want to do that. And then Achilles is being mean and she accidentally uses sign language, which she kept a secret that she knew sign language from them for the entire first book. And this is a big deal. It's not that big of a deal. I also wonder how like the geographics works, because they're in Rome, but they're in Corfu, and then they are in Siberia. Like, is everyone just in on this? Is the entire world just... Do we have Pangea again? So then we get this line, the scene was haunting like an oil paint... Sorry. We get this amazing line. The scene was haunting like an oil on canvas by the artist Alexandre Cabanel. Did he pay you? Why the fuck do I care about this man? Like an oil on canvas by the artist. Super hyper specific. Who lived from this to this. He published many works in his lifetime. Oh, he drew the fallen angel. Okay, we know who that is. Oh, it's when she's fighting the titans with wings. 2 titans with wings stood framed by the Roman Colosseum in the background, its ancient facade towering high above the crumbling modern street. The scene was haunting, like an oil on canvas by the artist. She also writes about a taser like multiple times in this book, and for some reason it's always capitalized, the word taser. And it confused me as a German. I wasn't aware that Taser was something we capitalized when writing in English. Okay. She's sent to her first mission to fight these winged titans that look like an all-on canvas by Alexander Carvellet or whatever. She's sent there with Achilles and Patroclus, and not Augustus and Charon, her husbands, but with the other two men. One of them gets badly injured, so the other takes him and disappears. So now Alexis is alone facing these titans. She's super powerful and fights them off for a while. Then the two husbands come save her. One gives her his ear. They finger her. Perfect summary. For some reason they can give each other body parts, and her ear gets bitten off by a titan or something. So Charon is like, you can have my ear, and he rips off his ear, sews it onto her, and then her body just absorbs it. Okay, this is very convenient to me, and I'm sure we will never see this happening again. The crazy thing is, though, that this ear that was ripped off was the one ear that she's deaf in anyway, and just because he gives her a new ear doesn't mean she can now hear out of it. Like, she still can't hear, which also doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I feel like she should be able to hear now. The husbands didn't know about this previously, that she's blind in one ear and deaf in one ear. They're a little slow, maybe, because how do you not notice if you love her so much? Doesn't really matter. He gives her her ear, and then she's like, why did you do that? I can't hear. And he's like, oh, doesn't matter. Like, you take it. I don't need it. I don't know which one of them gets there first of the husbands to save her, because they don't come together. Like, it's one and then the other, and then they, like, the one that comes starts making out with Alexis again, like in the forest with the taser, like, again forces her to kiss him after she's almost bleeding out on the ground. Women shouldn't have to fight in a war. It was fundamentally wrong, but it didn't escape me that Alexis had nearly decimated two titans with wings all by herself. How someone so delicate could be so powerful was beyond my understanding. Women shouldn't fight. They should be in the kitchen. There's no way that's fitting inside of me. The pink tip of his weeping wiener bobbed against the V of his Adonis belt. Okay. After saving her, bringing her to a safe house, bandaging her up and healing her after she fought off these titans successfully, they do put fingers inside of her. It's just, you know, circumstances. It turns out that she is deaf in one ear, which makes both her husbands go to Montana, where she used to live with her adoptive parents, to figure out how she became deaf, to be vengeful. They want to kill whoever made her deaf, okay? It's, you know, they're simple men. They go from trailer to trailer, because she used to live in a trailer park, and for some reason, randomly, they meet a very powerful ancient being that looks like a human, but his mind is like ancient, like he's definitely not human. They ask him a question that he can't answer. Either he just closes the door or he disappears, and they're like, oh, that was weird. Anyway, who made her deaf? Okay, we don't care. We don't... Okay, that's for the next book. Why do you put that in if it's not important right now? And there's so many chapters where it's like, if this is not doing anything for the book or for the plot, just leave it out. Like, it's filler. It's just filler. Then I got a little bit of whiplash, because one of the latest books that I read was the sequel to Quicksilver, which was Brimstone. Both of those books notably use the word solar plexus a lot, for some reason that I cannot tell you. And then this book reads, Charon turned with surprise and his elbow slammed into my solar plexus. And you cannot convince me that Jasmine Mars did not read Quicksilver, thought that was cool, and then added it into her book. Because who the fuck else will just use solar plexus for no... Like, why are we using it? Stop using solar plexus, please. Please, I don't want to read it anymore. Please, don't do it. If I remember correctly, they then watched the footage, her husbands watched the footage of her fighting the titans, because they didn't know what happened, right? They just came, like, by the end of it when she was almost dead. They're watching the recording of it, and it reads... Alexis's hand slipped as she desperately fumbled with the cuffs. She didn't have time, and she was badly injured. All caps, run! Exclamation mark. I yelled at the screen. You're reacting to an event in the past. So you know she didn't run. Why are you... Okay. Image after image of Alexis in the fight popped up. There were also drawings of her. Paintings. Sexual paintings of her falling from the sky with wings. Thankfully, they were fully bullshit and looked nothing like her. But it was the principle of it. We weren't the only ones obsessed. Everyone wanted her. They can't have her. This would be so exhausting. If I had a partner that was like this, I would get so exhausted, I have to be honest. Like, this whole, maybe it's because I'm old now, this whole obsession trope is fine as long as it's tolerable and like understandable, but the excessiveness of it and the extents that these men go to is incomprehensible to me. Next. They also figure out at some point that she has a pet snake who is invisible to everyone, and she, I think, can choose to be visible. Everyone gets scared when they see her because she's very dangerous. And class 7, Karen I can't say it. Overpronounced, doesn't matter. Each word. What class 7 means? I shook my head no, curious to see how he'd mansplain next to me. Basically, class 7 means that if you see a class 7 being, you have to kill it immediately. So they try to break the bond. This is 45% in, forcibly. So it's not willingly. Like, there's a whole scene where all of them are together, and then Petro and Achilles are like, break the bond, and she's like, no, but they consume her blood, and it turns out that Alexis's blood is poisonous. So her husband's consumed the blood, and they find out it's poisonous. Karen goes, don't panic, you're going to figure out what it means. And then in her head she goes, I already have, I'm a hideous fish. Yeah, so she doesn't break the marriage bond. She wants to stay married. She loves them. She wants to see their penises again. If what we had was just physical, he said quietly, I'd lay you out on this table and kiss your lips. Then I'd stroke myself as Augustus did the same, my nails dug into the arms of the chair. And while Augustus was busy with your lips, ... Okay, more. I'd kiss your mouth. I jerked, face-heating as I realized what he meant. Then Augustus and I would sit down in 2 chairs across from each other. We'd pass you back and forth. And that's exactly what they do at the end of the book, but it's very boring. It's the last thing they're doing it, but it's not really good. I barely noticed the lack of pain because nothing in life compared to the agony of my unrequited love for Alexis. This is like a 28-year-old man. When I'd crawl across the floor toward my wife with regret, lust, and emotion smoldering inside my chest. Girl, this was when they were trying to break the bond, so they were consuming poisonous blood and almost dying. They were on the brink of death, and he goes, I crawl on the floor towards my wife with regret, lust, and emotions. What kind of emotions? Just emotions. He was feeling all kinds of emotions. A few different things happen. Notably, everyone wants her, and then I wrote non-understandably. They then get sent off to the epic fighting games show that was planned for way down the line. Nobody explained what this would entail to her. It's very true. She just kind of flies by the seat of her pants the entire time because no one bothers to explain the politics of this world to her. So the fighting games are called SGC, and they will now start tomorrow. All Chthonics will stay at the Dolomite Stadium for 12-day showcase. They will also, doesn't matter. So they have to stay there, as I explained earlier. Fuck off, Karen, I whispered, feeling faint. Karen leaned in, the scent of rainstorm wafting off him. No, I'll fuck you, Alexis. Do it then. The historic Spartan Gladiator competition is what the SGC stands for. Showcases chthonic power. From the way everyone talked about the competition and the snippets of extreme bloodshed that played on the Spartan lifestyle pages, I'd assumed it would be a month-long affair. So she doesn't know anything, obviously, because no one told her. I'll try to keep this short because I really don't want to talk about this any longer. I'm a little bit bored. Around 50% in is when these games officially start. You know, they start going there. It gets introduced as the next plot point. The Chthonics all have to fight. This means the house leaders, like Hades, also has to fight, but obviously it's really easy for him. But then all of her boyfriends have to fight also. Zeus is evil, right? He's the Olympian leader and he's evil. And he is the one that has a dice or two. And then they roll the dice, and depending on whatever the outcome of that roll is, that determines how many rounds you have to fight and how many opponents you have to fight. Alexis figures out, oh my god, he's manipulating the dice, because why wouldn't he? He's evil, right? Everybody knows. She has to face the most labors, which I think means it's like either the most enemies or the hardest enemies, doesn't matter. And this is historic, like no one has ever done this or whatever. And then Hades is like, my daughter cannot do this. She cannot do this. And then Zeus is like, well, it's the law, it's the rules. The fuck you gonna do? They now have to stay by the Colosseum. They're not allowed to leave because obviously this, as I mentioned earlier, was only done earlier because they're trying to figure out where Medusa is since she escaped. The matching pink bird perched on her shoulder squawked with agitation in my direction. Leave, Karen ordered. And then she goes, nice government drone. to the bird. Okay. I struggle to speak, my brain fuzzy from his proximity. Technically, isn't monogamy a one-on-one ratio of... Karen slammed his lips against mine. Quiet, Alexis. I opened my mouth to argue and he plunged his tongue inside. This is the third time he's kissed her. You know, okay, we're counting. He says, you're not ready for us. And it didn't sound like he was just talking about doing it. Alexis, what is actually wrong with you? My jaw dropped at his audacity. Whoa, I'm just trying to have a little financial independence in the middle of an apocalypse. You're wearing a $300 million necklace. It's just like there's a lot of things that they don't have to make sense. They're just there for the vibe, yet again. If you're wondering how these fightings are proceeding, they're really, really boring. I feel like the best comparison is, imagine the Hunger Games. And all of the tributes, you know, have to present their skills in front of the Capitol to get a scoring. Now imagine if, instead of just reading about Katniss's performance, because it's Katniss's POV, Katniss gets to see all of these performances live. Like, she's there. And then... for every tribute. And then she decides to, well, not Katniss, but Suzanne Collins, then decides to write about every single fight on page. Or presentation that they do, the tributes. Every single one is on page. Every single fucking game that or challenge that these people face is on page. It's written out. I don't care. Been in the arena for about 5 hours. 5 long, painful, heinous hours. I don't care. I don't care. There's also side characters that are super irrelevant to Alexis that also get screen time. That also get their fights written about. Who gives a fuck? The best part about that is she goes, he'd been in the arena for about 5 hours, 5 long, painful, heinous hours, and then a few sentences down she goes, I watched the heinous show, using the same word twice on one page. I'm sure there are other synonyms for heinous and you just don't know them. You're bad at writing. Whenever they get intimate, well, not even when they get intimate, but just randomly, she'll be able to feel their emotions of her husband through the marriage bond. His emotions were jumbled, vulgar, and erotic. My woman, niece, dominant, control, F, brand, own, claim, cherish. You know, I think it would be nice if he maybe thought, like, just love. I don't know how you can read this and be like, fuck yeah, like I really want to be with a man like that. It's just so, ugh. You're my piano concerto no 20 in D minor. Tears leaked down my face. It was Mozart's most romantic composition. Talk piano to me. What happens, okay? In these fights, you're wondering. I will not tell you about any of the other fights. Everyone survives. No one dies. When Alexis's turn is up, she has to fight something that I don't remember, like wolves. It's really hard for her. Or maybe titans or something. It's hard, but she manages. And then the last challenge she faces is her 2 husbands. What? No way. Who would have thought? Not me. Especially not after reading about random side characters who had to fight their lovers. I didn't imagine like that her lovers would be there. They get drugged or something and put into the arena so that she has to fight them. And of course, everyone is like all 3 of them are like, no, we're not gonna fight each other. We love each other. I don't remember how it ended. I think they knock each other out. Like the husbands knock themselves out. If your opponent is knocked out, you also win. So that's how it's very anticlimactic. And then turns out the impersonator is revealed is the title of the chapter of titles. The imposter is revealed and it goes, obviously you freed Medusa. What were you thinking? She's a criminal. Turns out Alexis is now super smart and witty and just like the best. She ended up freeing Medusa because she accidentally teleported where Medusa was being held at the beginning of the book. We didn't see this. She then decides to free her because she's like, ugh, patriarchy, like they're just painting me out to be evil. I don't really know you, but I think that's what it is. It is what it is, but she couldn't know that. She then decides to free her and take her home to her where she's living. There we have the random woman that I mentioned earlier that she freed that tried to kill her in the last book. She is there, however she is still chained up. So then she's like, how are we going to fix the situation? I know. She kills the woman who conspired against her in the first book and then replaces that woman with Medusa. Like gives her a wig and replaces her. And then her friend, who I didn't mention, Helene, she's like, oh, you know, what if they notice? What if the men notice that this is not the same woman? And Helene is the one who goes, well, men don't notice. They don't notice shit like that. It's like, okay, are they that dumb? Like, why are you entrusting your entire life? Whatever. That might just be me. So they end up killing the original lady, replacing her with Medusa, and so Medusa has been living with them the entire book, and it wasn't this random lady who lost her memory. Let me finish this once and for all, okay? They save Medusa. It's all is good, all is well. Not really though, because everyone in this court still believes Medusa is evil because Zeus told them. After her fighting her husbands in the Colosseum, Alexis was kidnapped into the dungeons. I don't know. Everyone was questioned about Medusa after their fights, and so this also happens to her. She's tied to a chair, and Zeus is asking her like, "Where's Medusa?" Blah 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 blah. She records their conversation, and therefore his confession that he's the one who framed Medusa for whatever. I don't remember what evil she was supposedly responsible for. Doesn't really matter, because Alexis records this conversation where he basically confesses that yeah, he set Medusa up. So what's she gonna do about it? Then in the evening they have a party, and Alexis reveals, I freed Medusa. Everyone's like, oh my god. She's like, well wait, I have this recording from Zeus saying he set everything up, and then he just disappears. He just leaves. He flees. So all is well. Basically they are fighting back against the Olympians or something. I did forget to mention that at one point she did pleasure her husbands. She basically said, let's do it, and they were like, no, you're not ready, but you can do it to us, and she does. And since Zeus is gone, everyone survived their fights and everything is basically well. They tell her we can do it now, and she's super excited. It's her first time. She's been fantasizing about it. She's asexual, but maybe not. Augustus grabbed my ass, kneading both globes with his strong fingers. Globes? Okay. Thumbs traced under my eyes, wiping tears away. I hadn't realized I was crying. She's crying during her first time. It's always a good sign. Of course, Patroclus and Achilles, who are a little bit racist, have the biggest issue with Medusa. So the way the book ends is in Patroclus's chapter, I think, and he wants Medusa so bad. He doesn't say that he wants her so bad, but he's like, I want to chase after her. I want her. We also get one or two POV chapters from Medusa, and she reads exactly the same as Alexis. There's no difference between them. They have the same sarcastic comments and everything. So my prediction for the next book is that it's not about Alexis and her husbands, but rather about Medusa. They basically said she now has to go to college and be in society now that Zeus is gone, but she's not allowed to go there alone because of racism, and so Patroclus and Achilles have to go with her as her guardians, and so it's gonna be about the three of them and them getting together. The next book is my prediction. And the way the book ends is just, you know, Alexis finally doing it with her husbands just the way he dreamed in the chairs. She has no struggles. It's her first time, but she's bouncing on it already, and I am so glad that I read this book, and it was absolutely not a waste of time. I do feel a little bit bad. I don't know if this was Jasmine's long dream to become a full-time author, because, you know, she did quit her job to become an author. Just to prove the point with the curls again, here's the fan art with the luscious curls, where she just has a little bit of a twist in the end. I also imagined that Jasmine Mass's author picture and also her profile picture, this is her by the way, is probably the same picture that she had on LinkedIn and on the website for the law firm that she was working at. It's just my imagination. I don't know if the psycho shifters, or I don't know what the name is for the series, if they are similar to this book at all, if they read similarly also with the characters. Maybe I would imagine, just based on the quality of this book, that the stories are probably very similar. Also in the characters and such, I think there's not much of a difference. I'd imagine. I have no idea. It's just my prediction yet again. I really don't know what to tell you guys. I don't know what... There isn't much to say about this book. It was very lacking in the plot. All of the characters were very surface level and the writing was really bad. There's not one redeemable quality about it. Maybe the fact that you could read it quickly, because you don't have to think too heavily about it. Once you start thinking too heavily about it, like me with the Titans, it does get a little bit confusing. I need to calm down. Alas, I didn't have fun reading this. Thank you all for liking my Goodreads review, and I'll think of something funny for this one maybe. You guys let me know if you read these books, what you thought about them, if you agree with me that they are similar to maybe Zodiac Academy. Maybe there's a name for this type of writing that I'm not aware of, or this type of genre, which is maybe entitled bad writing genre. Thank you to my members. I love you so much. My members usually get my videos a day early when I don't have a sponsor. And my eternal peace and love and kisses from me. It was only for the members. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you stay happy, you stay healthy. Peace and love. And hopefully I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.